Today we look at the 15 highest rated science fiction series in the catalog of the world's largest streaming platform. The list covers everything from time travel thrillers and post-apocalyptic dramas to auteur science fiction that has left a lasting mark on contemporary television. Ranked from number 15 down to number 1 using my own editorial criteria, I can promise you there are at least 3 titles on this list you have never heard of that will completely change how you think about the genre. But before we start the video, it would mean a lot if you took a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for your support. Number 15, Manifest. A commercial flight from New York to Jamaica lands normally, but for the 191 passengers on board, 5.5 years have passed without them experiencing a single second of it. The world moved on, their families aged, and the government essentially declared them dead. But now they are back, with no explanation whatsoever and something extra: voices, visions, and mysterious callings pushing them toward destinies they cannot begin to understand. Melissa Roxburgh and Josh Dallas star in a series that blends family drama with supernatural mystery in a deeply addictive way that makes it nearly impossible to stop watching. Canceled by its original network, it was resurrected thanks to massive audience pressure that turned it into a streaming phenomenon and secured a renewal to properly complete its story. This is exactly the kind of show you start on a Friday night and realize on Sunday you have binged 4 seasons without coming up for air. Critical reception was mixed, but audiences were unambiguously enthusiastic, driving viewership numbers to historic levels. 4 seasons that closed the story satisfyingly. Number 14, Resident Alien. An alien sent to Earth with the mission of wiping out all of humanity crash lands in a small Colorado town and is forced to assume the identity of a rural doctor to avoid detection by anyone around him. Alan Tudyk delivers an absolutely brilliant performance that combines genuinely comedic alien awkwardness with moments of surprising emotional complexity that you simply do not see coming episode after episode. The premise sounds like light comedy, but the series is considerably smarter than it initially appears. It explores themes of isolation, belonging, and identity with a subtlety that consistently surprises across every season without ever becoming heavy-handed. The 4th season premiered in June 2026 and arrived on the catalog almost immediately after broadcast, completing the run. Critics were consistently positive across all 4 seasons, celebrating the originality of the concept and the show's ability to evolve and deepen without losing what makes it special. A science fiction comedy that never takes the easy road and delivers supporting characters as richly written as the lead, making it one of the freshest and most original propositions the genre has offered in years of contemporary television. Number 13, Lost in Space. A spectacularly well-produced reboot of the classic 1960s series that genuinely earns its place, rather than simply riding on the legacy of the original. The Robinson family is traveling toward a space colony when their ship suffers a catastrophic accident and they find themselves stranded on an unknown alien planet with no clear path home. Toby Stephens and Molly Parker star as the parents of a family that must survive extreme conditions while piecing together a way back to civilization. The alien robot is one of the finest creature design achievements science fiction television has produced in years, both visually and emotionally as it grows into a central character throughout the series. The production values are of absolute cinematic quality throughout. The alien landscapes are genuinely stunning, the special effects are first-rate in every episode, and the family dynamic adds an emotional dimension the genre often ignores entirely. 3 complete seasons that told a closed and satisfying story. Critics celebrated it as one of the finest science fiction reboots ever made for television, specifically praising the visual quality and the outstanding performances from the younger cast members. Number 12, Sweet Tooth. A mysterious pandemic decimates humanity, while simultaneously, a new generation of children begins to be born half human and half animal in ways that terrify the world's surviving population entirely. Christian Convery stars as Gus, a half-human, half-deer boy who has lived sheltered in the woods by his father and must now face an outside world that fears and hunts hybrids without mercy or hesitation at any turn. Nonso Anozie co-stars as the reluctant protector who gradually becomes a father figure in ways neither of them expected or planned for at the outset. The series has an absolutely unique dark fairy tale visual quality that sets it completely apart from anything else in its genre, combining moments of genuine tenderness with brutal violence that never apologizes for itself. Based on the acclaimed comic series, the production surprised critics and audiences alike with its narrative and emotional ambition across every episode of every season. The second season expanded the world in ways fans celebrated enthusiastically, and the third and final season closed the story with complete and earned satisfaction. One of the most genuinely heartfelt science fiction series the platform has ever produced in any genre or format. Number 11. Bodies. In 4 distinct eras of London, 4 detectives each discover the same unidentified corpse in the same alleyway at 4 different points in history. In 1890, in 1941, in 2023, and in 2053. The same face, the same gunshot wound, the same exact location every time, without exception. This narratively ambitious science fiction puzzle woven around time travel and a conspiracy spanning more than a century is one of the most original propositions the platform has produced in years without question. Shira Haas, Kyle Soller, Jacob Fortune-Lloyd, and Amaka Okafor star in their respective eras, with results that critics celebrated unanimously across every major publication. The 8-episode miniseries resolves the mystery completely and satisfyingly without leaving any threads loose, making it ideal for viewers who prefer a closed story over an ongoing saga. International critics celebrated it as a brilliantly constructed narrative exercise and one of the most surprising and accomplished launches of the year, specifically praising the way it weaves 4 stories together without ever losing coherence or forward momentum at any point. Number 10. Sense8. 8 people in 8 different cities around the world, all complete strangers to one another, suddenly discover they can share thoughts, skills, and even physical experiences with each other across any distance instantaneously. They are a sensate cluster, the next step in human evolution according to the series' own mythology and internal rules that it builds with genuine care. Created by the Wachowski sisters, this production is visually spectacular, philosophically ambitious, and entirely unlike any other science fiction series you have ever watched before or after it. The international cast includes actors from Kenya, India, Mexico, South Korea, Germany, the United States, and Iceland. And the production filmed on real locations in every one of those countries across its 2 seasons. It was canceled without a proper finale, which generated an unprecedented fan campaign in the history of streaming television that secured a 2-hour closing special to complete the story properly. Critical reception was polarized around the deliberately slow pacing of certain episodes, but audiences adopted it as an absolute and irrenunciable cult obsession. This is the kind of science fiction you think about and debate for days after finishing the final episode without being able to let it go. Number 9. Orphan Black. A working-class young woman named Sarah Manning, played by Tatiana Maslany, witnesses the suicide of a woman who looks exactly like her in every physical detail without any explanation. She decides to steal her identity and discovers she is a clone, part of a massive and long-running cloning experiment that has produced multiple copies of her scattered throughout the world without any of them ever knowing the full truth. Tatiana Maslany plays more than 10 distinct clones with radically different personalities in the same series, and she does so with an acting skill that is quite literally one of the most impressive performance achievements in the entire history of television, full stop and without any reservation whatsoever. She won the Emmy for Dramatic Actress for reasons that become immediately and completely obvious from the very first episode without exception. The corporate and scientific conspiracy plot is relentlessly addictive throughout every episode. The pacing never lets up for a single scene, and the supporting characters are as richly written as the leads at every turn. 5 complete seasons that close the story with total satisfaction for every fan who invested in the journey. Number 8. Travelers. From a devastated future where humanity stands at the absolute edge of extinction, teams of highly trained agents send their consciousness back through time to inhabit the bodies of 21st century people at the exact moment before they would have died anyway. Their mission: change the present so that the apocalyptic future they come from never happens at all. Eric McCormack stars as the leader of the primary team with a steadiness that anchors the entire series from the opening episode. The series has a narrative elegance that very few time travel concepts have ever managed to achieve. The rules are airtight and consistent. The consequences are genuinely real and felt by every character throughout every season. And the moral dilemmas the travelers face are relentlessly challenging at every turn. This is science fiction of ideas first and foremost, where the questions about free will, identity, and sacrifice matter as much as the plot mechanics driving the action forward. 3 compact and well-executed seasons that tell a complete story without unnecessary padding anywhere. Critics received it with consistent enthusiasm, specifically praising its narrative discipline and the rigorous integrity of its world-building across every episode. Number 7. Snowpiercer. Based on Bong Joon-ho's cult film, this series expands the universe of the train perpetually circling a frozen Earth where the last survivors of humanity live, divided by brutally rigid class structures that determine every aspect of their daily existence, without any possibility of change or mobility. Jennifer Connelly and Daveed Diggs star in a dynamic of political and ideological confrontation that is as electrifying as the action thriller built around it in every episode. The show leverages the claustrophobic confines of the train to construct one of the most effective metaphors for social inequality in contemporary television, without ever letting the allegory feel heavy-handed or forced at any point. The first season was widely celebrated by critics, the second expanded the world in genuinely interesting directions, and the fourth and final season is available to complete the full story for viewers who want the ending. Critics consistently praised Connelly's standout performance and the political ambition of the narrative throughout the run, a proposition that uses science fiction to ask real questions about power, privilege, and what survival actually costs when civilization has been stripped to its barest essentials. Number 6. Person of Interest. A technology genius secretly built for the government an artificial intelligence capable of predicting crimes before they happen, processing every camera and digital signal on the planet simultaneously without rest or error. The machine works flawlessly, but the government only wants the high-relevance national security cases it was primarily designed to handle. For everyday crimes, the system produces a social security number and discards it as irrelevant to its primary mission. The creator decides to act on his own using those discarded numbers with the help of a former CIA operative whose particular skills make him uniquely suited for the work. Jim Caviezel and Michael Emerson star in one of the most electrifying on-screen partnerships in contemporary television history without exaggeration of any kind. What begins as an episodic action procedural evolves into one of the most complex and genuinely intelligent explorations of mass surveillance, artificial intelligence, and free will that television has ever produced in any era. The 5th and final season accelerated the narrative in ways that left audiences completely satisfied with the conclusion. Critics grew progressively more enthusiastic with every passing season. Number 5. The Eternaut. In Buenos Aires, a lethal and completely inexplicable snowfall kills everyone it touches as it blankets the city in silence and death. As civilization collapses within hours, Juan Salvo, played by Ricardo Darín, is trapped with his family and a group of people who must survive what turns out to be the beginning of a full-scale alien invasion. Based on the legendary Argentine comic by Hector Oesterheld, this production is the most ambitious Spanish-language science fiction project ever created for television anywhere in the world. Ricardo Darín delivers a performance that anchors the epic scale of the apocalypse with the intimate urgency of a father who simply wants to protect his family no matter the cost required. The visual effects depicting a snow-covered and destroyed Buenos Aires are genuinely impressive by any international production standard without exception. Audiences received it with absolute euphoria, and critics across Latin America greeted it as a genuine cultural milestone worth celebrating and preserving for generations. A series that demonstrates Latin American science fiction can compete with any global production in ambition, execution, and raw emotional power. Number 4. The Burrows. In a seemingly perfect retirement community, a grieving newcomer who just lost his wife reluctantly joins a misfit group of elderly residents who discover that their golden years paradise is hiding a supernatural threat from another world. Executive produced by the Duffer Brothers, the creators of Stranger Things, with Alfred Molina as the recently widowed newcomer, and Geena Davis, Alfre Woodard, Dennis O'Hare, Clark Peters, and Bill Pullman completing an absolutely exceptional veteran ensemble cast. The premise is as original as the counterintuitive mechanism that sustains it. The heroes of this story are people over 60 years old, and the series treats them with a depth and dignity the genre usually reserves only for younger protagonists. The first season of 8 episodes blends supernatural horror with the human drama of its characters in a way that critics described as one of the most refreshing genre propositions of the year. The Duffer Brothers as executive producers guarantee the narrative ambition and careful world building that defines their work. A series that arrived with enormous anticipation and that audiences received with great enthusiasm from the very first episode. Number 3. Love, Death, and Robots. An animated science fiction anthology produced by Tim Miller and David Fincher that is, without any exaggeration whatsoever, the most visually impressive thing produced in adult animation across the last 20 years of the medium without a single comparable rival at any point. Each episode is a completely independent story with its own distinct animation style, variable runtime between 6 and 20 minutes, and a level of visual ambition that makes conventional animated television look primitive by direct and immediate comparison. Some episodes use pure photorealism indistinguishable from live action at first glance. Others look like animated oil paintings in constant motion. And others push the limits of stylized cartoons to their absolute extreme in ways that expand the definition of the medium itself entirely. Thematically, it covers cosmic horror and post-apocalypse, alongside black comedy and first-rate speculative science fiction, without ever repeating itself across 3 complete seasons. Critics received it as a genuine historical milestone for the animation medium without reservation or qualification of any kind. The 3 available seasons stand as definitive proof that animation can be as sophisticated, brutal, and emotionally devastating as any live-action production anywhere in the world. Number 2. 3. Body Problem. Based on the novel trilogy by Chinese author Liu Cixin, widely considered the most important science fiction work of the 21st century by a significant margin. The story begins during China's Cultural Revolution and escalates toward an existential threat to all of humanity, as radio signals from space reveal that we are not alone, and that whoever is out there is not coming with peaceful intentions of any kind whatsoever. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the creators of the early Game of Thrones seasons, produce with a narrative ambition of literally cosmic scope that genuinely respects the extraordinary scale and depth of the source material throughout every episode. The cast includes Benedict Wong, Jovan Adepo, and Eiza Gonzalez in strong and well-developed central roles that ground the hard science in recognizable human emotion and stakes. Hard science fiction is presented in an accessible way without sacrificing the intellectual depth that made the original novels globally famous and essential reading for anyone who cares about the genre at all. Critics were unanimously enthusiastic across every major outlet, naming it the most ambitious adaptation of auteur science fiction in years. A television event that permanently raises the standard for what can be done with the genre on any screen. Number 1. Altered Carbon. In a future where human consciousness can be stored on a disk and transferred between bodies as casually as changing clothes, a soldier from the past resurrected in a new body must solve the murder of one of the wealthiest men on the planet. Joel Kinnaman stars in the first season with a physically commanding performance in a cyberpunk noir that carries the visual budget of a major studio theatrical film in every single episode. The world building is absurdly ambitious and executed at a level very few television productions have ever reached. The wealthy are literally immortal by default. The poor are completely disposable. And violence carries consequences that challenge everything you think you know about action, drama, and what it means in a world where death is optional. The first season is cyberpunk auteur television at a level that has no real precedent in the medium anywhere across any era or platform. The second season changed its lead actor and received a more mixed critical reception overall. But the universe constructed by the first season is of such exceptional narrative richness that it justifies the entire journey without reservation. A work that left a permanent and undeniable mark on the genre. That's everything for today on Max Premieres. 15 science fiction series that prove the genre reaches far beyond special effects and spaceships when placed in the right hands. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our next uploads. Every week, more quality recommendations. See you in the next one.